All right, so thank you all for joining me for the second talk of the Keep Pursuing series, and some new faces, which is always exciting. Especially exciting because you decided to come to a talk that had a single word for the title, aligned. Nothing else. No context to what it might be. Maybe you read some daily notes and you have some ideas, but there's no context to what we're going to talk about other than some type of alignment. And I'm not handy, so I can promise you it's not alignment like cars. So thank you for coming. And for this series, I have written a poem for each talk to kind of kick it off. So the poem is designed to kind of act as an agenda. So I'm going to kick this off with the aligned poem, and then this will kind of tell the story that we're going to go on tonight. And at the end, we'll have time, not for Q&A, but more for discussion. Obviously, you can ask questions, but it's more questions for the group and conversation amongst the group. And truthfully, that's my favorite part of the whole night. So this is aligned. Your authentic life is closer than you realize. If you're searching, struggling, yearning to find the life that feels true to you, I have a formula, simple but profound. To step into your authentic life, align your spirit, mind, and body, and follow that order. Spirit first, mind second, body third. Your spirit is your direct connection to your higher power. It speaks through your heart, your passions, your intuition. It's the unseen guide, a whisper, a pull, steering you towards the paths where your truest self resides. Your spirit reveals the vision, the blueprint of your authentic life, but vision alone isn't enough. Your mind is where that vision takes root. It can only grow out as far as your mind allows. Forget the old saying, I'll believe it when I see it. Truth is, you'll see it when you believe it. Belief is the soil where dreams grow. If you don't believe, it can never be. Your mind is the greatest tool and also the greatest vulnerability. The world will try to control it, distract it, doubt it. Protect your mind, feed it wisdom, train it to focus, because without it, your authentic life will wither in the shadows. Your body is the vessel, the executor, the bridge between vision and action. You get one body, just one, and it's already racing against time. Neglect your body and risk losing the strength to carry out your purpose. Your body is sacred, the foundation for living fully, but its care isn't just physical. When your body aches, when pain speaks louder than passion, it pulls your mind out of alignment with your spirit. Suddenly the vision blurs, the focus shifts to survival. So nurture it, move it, rest it, fuel it. Because a healthy body keeps you aligned, grounded, ready to pursue your authentic life. All three, spirit, mind, body, together they form the harmony that unlocks your authentic life. None is more important than the other, because if one fails, the whole alignment crumbles. Start with your spirit, connect to your higher power, let it show you the way. Empower your mind, believe in your vision, your spirit is given. Then honor your body, let it carry you forward, strong and capable. Maintain the alignment and you'll not only live your authentic life, you'll grow with it, evolve with it, thrive with it. Your authentic life is waiting. The only question is, are you ready to get aligned? Which is what we're going to figure out tonight. So, as I planned the Keep Pursuing series, I try to be very intentional about the order. The goal is to build upon the conversation previous, but also to be where if you come in the middle of the series, it still makes sense to you. So in the last talk, I introduced everybody to the authentic life, and if you didn't hear it, it's on the YouTube channel, it's on the podcast, you can catch up later on. But in that authentic life conversation, I teased a formula. And I say formula in quotes because it's not really a formula, but that's the best way that I can kind of explain this alignment that I have discovered. So I even told you what it was. It was spirit, mind, body, and money. I didn't have money in the poem because as important as it is, it's the least important, which will make more sense as we go on. So tonight we're going to explore the formula. The alignment we're going to discuss is the alignment of spirit, mind, body, and money. How do you do it? How do you know? What is the implication? Why should you do it? And we're going to cover a lot of ground tonight. The truth is, I could probably do a 1-hour session on each one of those individually, but the goal is to give you some new things to consider, to maybe help you connect to some ideas or some understandings that maybe you have and you just don't realize that you've already had them inside of you. So that's the alignment we're going to talk about. But before we get there, I do want to real quickly visit the authentic life. So quite simple, the authentic life is just the life that you were created to live, which is where the spirit component comes into it. So we all have a purpose that we're here for. We all have unique gifts and talents that we were given, that were bestowed into us to bring to the world. And the authentic life, when you find that and live that, is kind of that perfect harmony of spirit, mind, body, and money that allows you to bring those to the world And if everybody were able to do it, it would be almost like a utopian. Now, I don't believe that's possible, but simple is that the authentic life is just the life you were created to live. And a lot of good things come with that. There is one idea I've had since the last talk I just wanted to share, is that I had a friend of mine reach out to me on LinkedIn, and he said he was kind of frustrated that he felt that in his authenticity today, he was frustrated because he wasn't living the authentic life he had in his mind. And I understood what he was saying, and I don't think I've ever addressed it or even thought about it before, but when he told me that, I realized that what we hold in our mind, and we're going to talk about the mind, is a future version of ourself. And usually that future version of ourself is a quote-unquote better. It's where we want to be. Because you're not that person today does not mean you're not living your authentic life. The life you envision is an authentic life in the future. So what I realized is that our authentic life is simply the compounding of authentic lives, mini lives or moments. So if we are constantly living in our authenticity today, even though that vision we have for ourselves is not it, we're still being true to ourselves. And if we continue to maintain our authenticity through this alignment, you're going to see that you'll eventually evolve into that version of yourself, but most likely it's not going to be that, because there are going to be things in this gap between today and in the future that you're going to experience in your authenticity that you never knew you were going to experience. That's going to expose you to new ideas and new possibilities that might take that future version and you'll drift a little bit. So it's good to have an idea of where you want to go, but you also don't want to get locked in on that, because chances are that's not the exact place you're going to be, and there's no way for you to know that until you progress to get there. So that's a new context to the authentic life I just wanted to drop. So with that, let's get into spirit, mind, body, and money. You've probably heard that collection of words before, but usually it's mind, body, and spirit. And that has become hard for me to say in that order, because I've been very intentional about the way I structure spirit, mind, body. Because I think that that is the order that we need to connect and align to find our authentic life. Maybe you could go mind, body, spirit, but I think spirit, mind, body is the right way to go, and I say it so much I can't say it the other way. So you've probably heard that collection before, but I'm going to be intentional about the way that we go. So it starts in the spiritual realm, and the reason I say that is, most of us believe in some sort of higher power. And this spirit realm is kind of where I get the most nervous to talk about, because I'm afraid that I'm going to turn some people off because I choose to say the universe. Or I might say God and not a different higher power, and they miss the forest for the trees. They get caught up on the higher power that I chose to say that day, and that may not resonate with them, so they miss the story. But throw that out and have an open mind about this conversation about spirit. And I want to go back to the poem and remind you about spirit real quick. So in the poem, your spirit is your direct connection to your higher power. It speaks through your heart, your passions, your intuition. It's the unseen guide, a whisper, a pull, steering you towards the paths where your truest self resides. Your spirit reveals the vision, the blueprint of your authentic life, but vision alone isn't enough. So if we can agree to throw the right higher power name out and just use that liberally tonight, then I think we can make some progress. Now, it might be controversial, and in my belief in this is, I don't think that the denomination that you happen to have for your faith, whatever it may be, I don't think that the denomination is the most important part of the spirit realm. I don't think it's the how. I think it's the fact that you have a connection, that you have faith, and you realize that someone or something created you for a purpose. Where spirit, mind, body falls out is if you don't believe in anything that created you, then my view on this may not be right for you. But if you believe in a higher power that created you, then spirit comes first, and when you connect to that higher power, you can begin to understand, what is your purpose? Why are you here? Why were you created? If you were created for a reason, shouldn't we try to find that? And your higher power will guide you towards that when you connect to it. And we'll talk about how you can connect to it in a little bit. But your higher power created you for a reason. It wants to see that reason come to fruition. But at the same time, it's not going to give you all the answers right away. So there's no fun in that. So the more you connect, the more aligned you get with your higher power, the more you'll begin to get clues and cues about where you're supposed to go. They come to the heart. In all of the religions I've researched, the highest level of consciousness where the higher powers live is in a state of love. And love comes to the heart. We get pulled in direction. We have people that we love, and that's kind of the highest form of respect as well. If you look at a map of consciousness that Dr. David Hawkins put out, love is one of the highest states. And to me, that's up there in the higher power realm. So our heart is one of the ways that our higher power, our creator, communicates with us, and we feel drawn to certain things. Sometimes we follow them, sometimes we don't. It can also show up in our intuition. We have these gut feelings that just, how do we know that? Well, it's your higher power or a universal force nudging you to go in that direction, trying to give you a little bit of confidence to go do that thing, but not everybody follows it. And I think that the more aligned that we get, the stronger your intuition gets and the more comfortable you get trusting it, which allows you to navigate and operate trusting it. And think about it. How many times has your intuition not worked for you? And how many times has your intuition told you to do something and you didn't do it, and what was the outcome?
Like, wished you would have done it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you've probably experienced a lot of this. You just didn't know what it meant or know how to read it. Passions are another way that our higher power communicates with us. And I think of passion ties into our hearts, but there are things that you love to do. DJing, photography, dressing kids up really good. There's these things that we love to do. Why? And how many of us never go pursue those to see what could they be? Photography. You know, when Morgan and I first met 2 years ago, she was a social worker who was doing photography on the side because she enjoyed it and she had a passion for it. And now, social worker no more, full-time photography, videography, flying over across the world technically with a camera in her hand. There's a reason for that. There's a reason she's supposed to be doing that. Maybe that reason hasn't been found yet, but because she's doing it, it's continuing. And our unique gifts and talents, I mentioned that. We've all been given unique gifts and talents that allow us to do something that no one else can do as good as us. In the first talk with The Authentic Life, I talked about Chris Brickley, the basketball trainer. I talked about Harry Mack, the freestyle rapper. I talked about Hakim Tafari, who's doing Tai Chi and meditation and running and modeling and all these things. The reason they're able to do that is they've leveraged their unique gifts and talents to do something that no one else in the world can do for them. And that will spill into the money stuff later on. But those gifts were given to you, and I think that we're supposed to try to find those and then bring those to the world. And the final one is not really a communication, but if you think about going back to the state of love and where that falls on consciousness and where our higher powers live, I think you can also find your way and strengthen your connection with your higher power through service to others. Because when you are offering service to others, it's from a state of love. Yes, we have a service and we hope to get paid for our services, and that might be how we provide, but at the end of the day, you're doing something to help somebody else, and hopefully it's out of love. And the more you do that, the stronger your connection to your higher power is going to be, and that's going to guide you. So if we step back for a moment, we have this creator who put us here for a reason, who has given us unique gifts and talents, and the stronger we can connect to them in ways we'll talk about in a moment, the more clear we'll be able to find our way, even though it won't give us all the exact answers, to our authentic life, which is, I think, a goal of ours to get there. Kind of like the personal legend in The Alchemist. So how can we, align ourselves with our higher power? How can we maintain that? How can we continue to grow? There's a number of ways, and the flaw in my formula, and why it gets parentheses, is I don't believe there's a right way. I think we can agree that spirit, mind, body is an important formula to follow, but how you practice each needs to be true and authentic to you. So faith is one way. Connecting with nature, one of the purest forms of creation from a higher power. Expressing our creativity. I'll talk about creativity at the end. That's kind of a bonus. It's not in the formula, but it's an important part. Then you can start getting out into like the areas of woo, astrology, human keys, human design and gene keys, psychedelics. There's a lot of ways to connect to a higher power. However you choose to do that, I think is right, as long as it's right for you. So with this stronger connection, we receive these cues, we receive these visions from our Creator of what we're supposed to do, what our authentic life looks like. But having that vision is not enough. That keeps it in this metaphysical world that we don't get to see and experience. It's kind of just out there. So the next step is the mind needs to take over. We receive this vision, we receive these cues, we receive this authentic life. Now the mind needs to take over. So if we go back to the poem, your mind is where the vision takes root. It can only grow as far as your mind allows. Forget the old saying, I'll believe it when I see it. Truth is, you'll see it when you believe it. Belief is the soil where dreams grow. If you don't believe, it can never be. Your mind is your greatest tool and also your greatest vulnerability. The world will try to control it, distract it, doubt it. Protect your mind, feed it wisdom, train it to focus, because without it, your authentic life will wither in the shadows. So when I say mind, where on the body do you think?
When you say mind?
Yeah, when I say your mind, where do you think it is?
For me, I would say not necessarily my head, but my heart, because like my heart feeds my mind, like my brain. I guess.
Tavarius, you already, first off, you're messing up my talk. And secondly, I'm glad because you get it. You get it. Most people, I saw Caitlin, I think, point to her head. Most people, when we think mind, we think head, we think brain. Important distinction. Your brain is not your mind. Your brain is in the physical world. Your brain is an organ. It's a collection of tissues and blood vessels and nerves. It reacts and signals the body to do things. Your brain doesn't necessarily know real from fake. There was a belief that the brain controlled the mind, that the mind was a byproduct of the brain, but science and scientists are moving more towards the brain extends beyond our mind. The brain is more of consciousness. So to show you how the brain is not the mind and how the brain just processes information, if you were to talk back in 2023, I talked about this syndrome that amputees have. So like their limbs are missing, but yet they'll have this phantom pain. So I think it's phantom limb syndrome. So the arm is no longer there, but because there are some nerve endings, it feels as if the arm is and there's pain. So the way that they alleviate this pain, because you can't do anything to the arm that's not there, is they have mirror therapy. And what that is they put a mirror on a table so the mirror sees the good limb. The brain collects this information through your eyes. The eyes see this arm where it's supposed to be, where the pain is, comes through the eyes, goes to the brain. Brain sees, oh, arm is there, it is moved, alleviate the pain. But the reality of it is that arm didn't move because it's not there. The brain was tricked by the mirror. The brain doesn't know anything, it just processes information and it fires the signals and it goes. Your mind, on the other hand, is not physical. Your mind is abstract. It doesn't exist in the physical form. It's consciousness. It's your thoughts. It's the self-talk. It's the voice you hear in your head is your mind. And it is not your brain. They're very close. And I do think that the brain can influence the mind and the mind influences the brain. I do think it could go both ways. I don't have any scientific evidence. It's just what I feel, just from my experiences. But that's an important difference. The mind is not your brain. The mind is not actually in your head. And I love, Tavares, how you said it comes from your heart. And did you know that your heart actually has a brain? There's a book, I forget what it is, I'll have to email you all. Kimberly Snyder is the woman who wrote it, but the heart has a brain. Like when a fetus is born, there is no brain, but the heart is there, and the heart has a brain. They call it the heart brain. So, interesting tidbit. I need to learn more about that to talk into it, but that just popped in my head right now.
Heart brain, yeah, bro.
So, the mind is so important. It is your most valuable asset because it controls your reality. What you think, what you say, becomes your reality. You think about like perspective. Your perspective becomes your reality. There's a lot of people who think the world right now is a terrible place. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But there are also a lot of people who are looking at their lives and their perception becomes a reality and it's not that bad. So depending on where you are, on this same world, on this same timeline, you have a totally different experience. And the mind is what's controlling that. Your thoughts are really powerful. Your thoughts are things. There's a guy named Bob Proctor who passed away a couple years ago. He's the one that came up with you'll see it when you believe it. And I love that saying. I think Tanya's here. Will you let her in?
Yeah. She might be trying to get ready or stay. I should make her stay.
Yeah, she can stay.
She probably learned. She'd love it here. Let's see if she'll stay. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good. You're good.
You can just come in and just sit up. It's good.
Our neighbors are here. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Make you stay. My wife and two of my kids came late last time, so no problem at all.
It's good.
So we're talking about alignment of spirit, mind, and body, and money, and how that helps us live a more true and authentic life. So you're in the mind part. So Bob Proctor gave us, you'll see it when you believe it. And how many of us are still waiting to believe in something because we haven't quite seen it yet? The belief has to come first. If you can't believe it, if you don't believe it, then it can never be. 2 years ago, would you ever believe you'd have a podcast where you're getting paid to go places and be local celebrities? No. But you believed you could do it, which is why you set out to do it, and therefore now you have a podcast that people listen to regularly. The belief had to come in. If you didn't believe that you could do it, you guys would have quit. There's things that we stick with because we believe so much in it, we want it so badly, and that belief keeps us going. Without it, it never could be. So it's important to protect our minds because other people know how powerful it is. You know, attention is the greatest commodity right now. You think about marketing, you think about social media, those are individuals, those are companies trying to, for lack of a better term, control your mind because they know that they can use that for their benefit. So we need to protect it, and we need to be in control of our mind. And if we can control our mind, then that brings it in alignment to what it is we receive from our higher power through the spirit realm. So in order for this vision to be able to come into reality, your mind has to believe in it. Your mind has to see it. Your mind has to want it. You have to envision it and embody it all through your mind. And when you have that alignment, now it can be because you believe in it. But that still keeps us in the metaphysical world. It doesn't bring it to reality. But before we get to body and how that plays into it, how can we align our mind with our spirit? How can we continue to go with it? A number of ways. Again, this is not by any means the end-all be-all list and how you do it yourself, but meditation, journaling, shutting down the negative self-talk, loving yourself instead of hating yourself, expressing your creativity, and then not so much internal, but auditing the people that you surround yourself with. You know the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, what are those people saying? What are those people believing? Do they align with where it is you're going? If not, then chances are their lower energy, their negative thoughts are going to creep in to your life. So auditing the people that you're with. And auditing the content that you consume. We're going to talk about body and diet and nutrition. Content is no different. You're putting it into your body. And what it is that you read, the news channels you choose to watch, the radio shows you choose to listen to, can shape your reality. And we know now between political parties and networks, they control and create 2 different worlds in the same United States based off of what they're feeding to people. And there are people that live and die by it, and they shape their world and their view and their life around these things that may or may not be true. So not that you need to, choose your content to be an echo chamber or to have confirmation bias. More so, tune out the noise, tune out the information that doesn't bring value to your life, that doesn't fuel you to move in the direction that you want, because there's a lot of junk out there. And again, it's more to control you a little bit for their agenda. You end up becoming a pawn in someone else's game rather than controlling your own life's destiny. So we've got our spirit who has communicated with us from our higher power. I'm bored, Silas. He's asleep. Our higher power has communicated to us through our spirit where we're supposed to be going. What does our authentic life look like? Now our mind believes in it and it sees it. Now it's time to bring it to the physical world. And as I do that, you get to see one of the downsides of being a beginning speaker is you manage your own camera.
No, you are.
Stopping spot. All right. Okay. There we go. So now we're to body. And if we go back to the poem, your body is the vessel, the executor, the bridge between vision and action. You get one body, just one. It's already racing against time. Neglect your body and you risk losing the strength to carry out your purpose. Your body is sacred, the foundation for living fully, but its care isn't just physical. When your body aches, when pain speaks louder than passion, it pulls your mind out of alignment with your spirit. Suddenly the vision blurs, the focus shifts to survival. So nurture it, move it, rest it, fuel it, because a healthy body keeps you aligned, grounded, ready to pursue your authentic life. Last week, in one of my daily notes, I shared a quote from Seneca, who's one of my favorite Stoics. I have him tattooed on my forearm. And it said, "We treat the body rigorously so that it will not be disobedient to the mind." can't remember, this is hundreds of years ago, if not thousands. I don't know when Seneca was around, but Marcus Aurelius, same time. And he was talking about how the body needed to fall the body needed to fall in line with the mind. It could not be disobedient to the mind because we need the body to carry out what the mind is believing and seeing for us. So the body is very important because that is what is our way to take this vision we have received and that we believe in and make it real. Until it becomes real, before it becomes our life, before we get to bring these gifts and talents to the world, we need the body to execute it. So the body can impact our alignment in two ways, really. The first is we need our body to be healthy enough and in good enough shape to actually execute, to actually go out and do the things that we're supposed to do. If we're always sick, if we're always in the hospital, if we don't feel good, then we're not going to go do those things. So the vision never gets to become because we don't take the steps forward to make it happen. And the second component of it is if you don't feel good, eventually that weighs on your mind. It's hard to maintain optimism and excitement about this vision when you feel crummy. When you don't feel good, eventually that energy is going to go to, I don't feel good, it's not fair, and now the mind begins to fall out of alignment with the spirit, and we're not living our authentic life. We don't walk the path we're supposed to walk. So it's important to take care of our body. Now, before I go further, I have to acknowledge that we don't get full control over how our body ages. And we all have heard stories of the marathon runner who ate vegan and did everything right, but ended up having a heart attack or ends up getting cancer. So it's not always going to be fair the way our body plays out, but I think if we do everything that we can within our power, within reason, and we make the decisions ourselves to avoid those future health ailments, should they happen, then it was just bad luck. Me personally, not that you have to follow my views, but me personally, if I do the right things and I get sick in the future, then I'll tackle it full force. I won't be mad at myself because I did what I could do to make sure that didn't happen. But if I keep on drinking energy drinks, which I know are not good for me, and eating Silas's gummy bears, and I get sick in the future, I'm going to be very upset with myself that I didn't maintain the discipline to avoid that ailment. Even if it may have happened anyways, the fact that I contributed to it, knowing what I know and I didn't, I'd be mad at myself. So that's what I use as my North Star is I don't want to regret my decisions today in the future that impacts my ability to live my authentic life and have a long, healthy life. And if it happens that way, then that was what the cards had dealt for me. So your body needs to carry it out. It also needs to maintain how we take care of our body. Movement is obviously a very important one. Exercise. And within exercise, there's a number of things. We've got some CrossFitters in here. We could run. We could do HIIT workouts. We could do boot camp type stuff. Just like on the spirit side and kind of talking about denomination, I don't think the most important thing is you pick the right workout regimen. I think it's that you're doing something. Yoga, running, hiking, cycling, all these different things. Nutrition, what do we put into our body? So diet is going to be important. Rest, the obvious is sleep. 8 hours of sleep is what we're supposed to get, and dark shades and cool air. Sleep is important, but also rest. Like rest is not just sleep. Like we live busy lives. 3 boys, our weekends are no less busy than our work days, so it's nonstop. But when we have a Saturday where we don't happen to have any games, I have absolutely no problem sitting on the couch for 2 hours doing nothing and resting. I make time throughout the week to take power naps. I'm the king of a 20-minute power nap. It's rest. Your body needs rest above and beyond just the sleep because we are going so fast. You can't be operating in a space where you need to operate to live your authentic life if you're not rested. So yes, sleep, but also don't forget to find times just to rest. So I want to make a couple plugs though. I don't live in a world where there's absolutes. So spirit, mind, body, money, very vague with how you execute it. I'll never write a book that says this is the one way because I don't believe there's one way. I do think that weight training and yoga are two things that everybody should strive to do in one form or another. There's tons of science that supports how weight training is one of the best ways to lose weight, maintain muscle, slow down aging. If you think about it, as we get older, we're going to lose muscle, our bone density is going to go, but if we're taking care of it in weight training, it delays that. A broken hip today is much different than a broken hip when you're 80. And if you can put yourself in a position where you're 80, you avoid the fall because you're strong and you have good balance, but also if you happen to fall, you have enough muscle to absorb the fall, then maybe you don't have that. So weight training, I think, is something that everybody should strive to do. You don't have to have a lot of money to do it. You can do it for a long time, especially if you keep on maintaining it, but there's a lot of benefits to weight training. And then yoga on the other one, I love because everybody can do it. It's all adjustable to where you are. But I look at yoga, if I put on my financial advisor hat, yoga is like the HSA, the health savings account. The health savings account in financial planning is the only type of account that is triple tax advantage, meaning you get to deduct it off of your taxes today, like a 401k. It has tax-deferred growth when you invest it, meaning as it grows, you don't pay taxes like your 401k. But when you use it in the future for health, it's tax-free. There's no other investment opportunity where you get all three of those. And yoga is like that. Yoga hits your body. There's strength, there's flexibility, there's balance. Yoga hits your mind because when you really get into yoga, it becomes almost like a moving meditation. You're focusing on your breath. You're present in the moment. Whatever else is going on happens to move out of the studio or move out of the room you're in, and it's almost like you're in meditation. And because you hit this meditative state, it almost becomes spiritual. You feel more at ease, you're more connected with yourself, and those lines of communication with the higher power just seem to be more clear. So yoga hits on spirit, mind, and body as one activity, and we can all do it. There's free yoga on YouTube, and you can do it from your living room. So I feel like those two I want to put an extra little plug in because they're so beneficial, can have a huge impact in the long run. So we've got spirit giving us our authentic life and the vision. The mind is seeing it and believing it, envisioning it, embodying it, and now our body is in good enough shape to execute it. So that brings us to our final alignment of talking about money. But before we get there, I kind of want to talk about where we find ourselves with the alignment of spirit, mind, and body. And that's the one I talk about most. Like if you go to my reading and look at my podcast, I don't talk about money a lot. It's very, very important. But as I'm going to talk about here in a moment, I think money, when you find this initial alignment, becomes a lot easier. So where we are now, we've got our vision we have the alignment of spirit, mind, and body, connection to our higher power. We have an understanding of who we are, what we're here to do, and how we're supposed to do it. And in that, we find more confidence in ourself. We love ourselves more. We're more connected to our truer self, which allows us to have that confidence to continue to move forward. And that confidence is going to be important when it comes to money. We have a better understanding of our values. What's important to us? What do we really care about? What do we don't? We throw away what society says we're supposed to care about, and we know what we care about because we know who we are. And then with this knowledge, now we can look at money through a different lens. Money touches everything, and there's no way to escape it. And it's not in the poem, so I don't have a thing to go back to, but I've been a financial advisor for 20 years. And I can say with a lot of confidence that part of a lot of money struggles that people have, the stress around it, stems from a lack of an understanding of their true self. There's money stories that we inherit as we grow up from our parents and our family, and those impact as well. But not knowing who you are leads to people mismanaging money, seeking to find out who they are, keeping up with the Joneses, buying things to try to impress people to get validation of who we want to be versus who we really are. When you find that confidence and have that alignment, you don't need to worry about what other people might or might not think. You're happy with who you are. And then you end up realizing they weren't even paying attention to you anyways. So you're buying all these things to gather this attention and try to get this praise from people who aren't even paying attention to you. Most people are self-interested. So they're not paying that much attention to you. Silas tonight when we were at Target was embarrassed of his outfit because he had his little suit jacket on, his Snoop Dogg t-shirt. I'm like, Silas, people aren't really paying attention to you. As cute as you are, not everybody is paying attention to you the way you think you are. Just wear it with confidence. So if we understand who we are, now we can come to money and be able to allocate it aligned with this authentic life that we're trying to move. So instead of keeping up with the Joneses, we're spending money the way we feel like we want to, aligned with our values. We're not doing retail therapy, which might make us happy for a short amount of time, but then ends up bringing more makes us more upset and frustrated because we wish we didn't buy the thing we didn't really need and with the money we didn't have, but for a moment we felt good. It can lead to careers that are unfulfilling, spending time trying to chase the corporate ladder, chase promotions for a career that we don't really enjoy, but it's because it's what we're supposed to do, and we need the money. And it might be hard to believe, but more money doesn't always bring more happiness. There are a lot of miserable millionaires and billionaires. You might not believe it, but I listened to a podcast today with Mr. Beast. Everybody know who Mr. Beast is? Biggest YouTube audience, gives away millions of dollars, has enterprise value of like billions. He's a billionaire on paper. He is incredibly unhappy. The Diary of a CEO is the podcast. He said it multiple times. His life sounds miserable. So it's proof that making more money is not bringing him more happiness. But that doesn't mean that more money can't bring more happiness. I think when you bring on more money aligned with your authentic life, then that brings more happiness. More money that's not aligned does not. So the key there is, and the reason I share that is, for a long time I struggled with making a goal to make more money. I felt that was greedy. It's not what we're supposed to do. I live a good life, we can do it. Why do you need more money? Well, I need more money because I want to go do good things with it. I want to invest in people. I want to be able to pay people's medical bills. Like, I don't want to go Mr. Beast level, but I want to help people out. That's not bad. That's aligned with who I am. So therefore, me making more money is not a bad thing. And I think that's a level of shame that's placed on us, that when your intentions are good and the desire to make more money is aligned with your true authentic self, then go make as much money as you want, because the reason is right. So more aligned money brings more happiness. More disaligned or misaligned money does not. So how can we take care of our money? Once you find that alignment and you're living your authentic life and true to yourself, money tends to take care of itself. And if you're having financial struggles, that might be hard to believe, and the religion talk makes me nervous, and then saying that makes me nervous as well, because I know there are a lot of people who are struggling financially. But I have seen enough times where people who are doing the right things and living the life they want to live, where money just kind of magically shows up right when they need it. I had a conversation with a group one time, and there was this woman who was a freelance designer. And she kind of got herself in some credit card debt, decided she was going to commit to paying the credit card debt off, and developed a plan for it. And she received, so the credit card debt was $10,000. She receives a check for an invoice that was like 2 years old that she forgot was even out there and wrote off. That was $10,000. And it may not be that amount, but you've probably had situations where you get an influx of money just when you needed it, magically close to the amount that you needed, and it came from the most random place. Money, when we are living aligned, tends to flow to us and through us if we allow it. So we need to be responsible. We need to save and prepare for the future, college, retirement, all these things. But also we don't want to hoard money. Because if you hoard money, it acts like a dam. And eventually it will stop flowing to you, and it will flow to other people who are going to do good with it. So I think part of our responsibility from a financial standpoint is to keep ourselves in good places, be building to what we want, but also to use these resources to help other people in different ways. And there's tons of ways to do it. So when you find that alignment, notice how money becomes a little bit easier and kind of takes care of itself. Obviously, good habits, living within your means, having a budget, saving, investing, doing all of those things are important as well. Making sure you have the right amount of insurance, having your estate plan in place, all these financial planning topics, those are all very important. But staying out of the way of the flow is important as well. And then finally, having a financial advisor who understands where you're trying to go, that might be able to help you see things that you don't know, is valuable as well. My profession is very, very slow to thinking about money and lives the way that I think about it and the way we're talking about tonight. But the good news is there are more advisors coming along that way. Most financial advisors want to run straight to the numbers first and tell you what your life might look like based off of what the numbers are. Where the shift needs to focus to, what's the life that you want? What's the life you're supposed to live, the authentic life? What is that? And then let's reverse the numbers back to how do you make that happen? And one of the things you might realize and understand when you find your authentic life is the amount of money you think you need may not be what you really need when you're living true to yourself. Again, I mentioned keeping up with the Joneses, retail therapy. When you're happy and you're living your authentic life, you may not spend frivolously on things that don't bring you value, which may mean you don't need as much money, which frees you up to take a different job or tons of other possibilities. Another way that money can kind of take care of itself is When you tap into your authentic life and you find your unique gifts and talents, if you are bringing your unique gifts and talents that no one else has, that allows you to bring something to the world that has a high value. Money is just an exchange of value. How much I make an hour, how much you make an hour is someone's perception of that's how valuable it is. Well, if nobody can do what you can do, there will be people who need it. And because no one can do it as good as you the way you do it, then your value is higher. If somebody wants your work, then your value goes up. So living your authentic life, if you need it to, can also lead to you making more money because I always bring this example up. You become the Kobe Bryant of whatever it is that you're doing. You can command whatever you want because you're doing something no one else can do. My unique gifts and talents are not as a financial advisor. I'm replaceable from a technical standpoint. I'd like to think that relationship-wise my clients wouldn't want to replace me, but any financial advisor can sit behind the financial planning software and do what I do. My unique gift talents lie here tonight in speaking and creating content and expressing myself creatively and sharing this message. That's my unique gift and talent. There's people who have similar messages, but they can't deliver it and explain it the way that I do and inspire people the way I do. That's my unique gift and talent. And one day that will command tens of thousands of dollars to give talks, but that's in the future and that's okay. So finding your authentic life helps you better align your money to where you will worry less about it. And that's why it's the final piece. I think we should spend most of our time on the spirit, mind, and body and let the money fall where it needs to. And it doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect, but it'll be a lot easier. So I mentioned creativity. That's the bonus card. I think creativity is something we should all try to find a way to bring it to our life. DJing, photography, writing, singing, whatever it might be. Even expressing ourselves creatively in a corporate setting of the way we solve problems. We can bring a unique perspective to solving problems that flows through our creativity. I think we were all created to create. And if you think about little kids, as soon as they can crawl and sit up, what's the first thing they all automatically know how to do? Create. They're building with blocks. They're coloring. They're drawing. As they get older, they have imaginary friends. They live in these imaginary worlds. Like, how does it that every kid knows how to play The Floor is Lava before they have any other friends? No one teaches them how to play it. But yet they all have this imagination that allows them to come up with this idea that the floor is lava. So we all have this inner creator in us, and I think that inner creator can help us tap into who we really are and connect to our authentic life. Plus, it just makes life more fun. So if you're interested in creativity, I would highly recommend Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. It's an amazing book all about creativity.
Rick Rubin?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a book where you can just open up. Actually, you can have this.
No, man.
I got multiple copies. I give it. You got it.
I'm gonna give it back to you.
I'm not gonna take it. You give it to somebody else.
Well,
So,
Rick Rubin. Check it out, bro.
if you're interested in connecting and finding your authentic self, I mentioned I don't live in absolutes, but I do think finding an alignment of spirit, mind, and body is as close to an absolute as you're going to get from me. How you bring that to the world is totally up to you. So, I can't tell you how to do it, but I can share with you what it is I do. Meditation, creating, being in nature, doing my yoga, working out, breath work, being with my family, being around like-minded people, following my passions. Those are the things that help me find my alignment and maintain it. You've got to figure out how you bring your alignment. But how will you know when you're aligned? First, you're going to feel it. You'll feel more connected to your creator and your higher power. Your energy is going to be at a higher frequency. Your intuition is going to speak louder and clearer. You'll experience flow, the state of flow, more regularly, even in the most mundane tasks like washing the dishes or cutting the grass. Things will just seem to be flowing together. Secondly, you'll see it. Doors will open right when they need them to. Somebody will come into your life right when you needed to meet them. You'll think of someone and you'll receive a text message from them right then. We call these things synchronicities. And the more aligned you are, the more the synchronicities happen. And I could give you endless examples of synchronicities in my life. But you'll be able to see these lessons unfold in front of you the more aligned you are. And then finally, you're going to experience a little magic. You'll see bald eagles or hawks. You'll see repeating numbers. You'll say something and then hear those words somewhere else. I was typing on a story I was posting of a video from Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, and it made me smile, so I said, this puts a big smile on my face. And I was listening to the Alexa, and Larry June is rapping in the background. As I'm typing smile on your face, the lyrics in the song say smile on your face. Little things like that. They're winks from the universe to let you know you're moving in the right direction, to let you know they're taking care of you. And sometimes they're there to give you some information or some confirmation. But all of these things will happen. And the good thing about being aware of these things is when you start to see them slow down or begin to go away, you can tell that you're losing your alignment. You're falling out of alignment. And I don't know exactly when we fall out of alignment to where it becomes problematic. I think there's like a range. Plus or minus 5 metrics of synchronous, of alignment. As long as you stay within those bands, you're okay. And when you know the way that you find your alignment, when you start to see those things begin to diminish, you're getting outside that band, you can pull those things back in. So if I start to notice things falling, I'm prioritizing my meditation. I don't meditate every day. But when I notice things are not right, I meditate every day. I get back to making sure I'm doing my yoga. Those are the things. So you don't have to be perfect. You've got bandwidth to kind of give yourself the ability to move through life without having to be strict and be a robot, but then you know how to pull yourself back in. So I hope the whole point of tonight was, again, I could have gone through each one of those for an hour each. There's so much to go in depth of those. My goal was to help you maybe make the connections to some of these things that maybe you already knew or something that you've already experienced that will help you continue to find this alignment. I do think spirit, mind, body, and money is a very important alignment. I think that it is one of the best ways to begin to figure out who you really are because of that connection to your higher power, because of the vision that allows it to come to be real, and because your body is in good enough shape to carry it forward. And then again, the money side takes care of itself. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Does this spirit, mind, body make sense? Are you already living it? Have you experienced before? What are your thoughts?
I can go. I feel like I'm living it. I mean, I'm definitely like, I am not super religious, but I'm spiritual. So I'm trying to talk about that.